Hello and good evening, Mrs. Oluwashola.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
You're welcome, ma.
Sir.
So we hope to have a great time tonight. Trying to wait for other people to join in as we move on. No. So, I think somebody is trying to record. Let me see if I can. Samuel, you have to on the phone. Let me call Samuel. The phone. So tonight is like the final night for the IELTS writing tax one. And I saw a number of assignments submitted. If you can hear me, please let me know. I saw a number of assignments submitted on the page, which I feel I'm absolutely happy about. But some have not been able to submit. For the ones that I saw, I think the individuals that did the assignment did a very good job. They understood the concepts of drawing an outline. And last class we had on Tuesday was trying to move into how to draw how to write a report, but we were not able to start up because of the network crisis. So I'd like us to start that as quickly as we can so that we can move into other details that are required. Now, the first thing that is important about writing writing a report is the introduction. You must introduce your essay first by paraphrasing the question. Introduce the essay by paraphrasing the question. And then once that is done, the next phase is to add the unit of measurement. So the introduction is the paraphrase of the question and the unit of measurement. Okay. The paraphrase of the question comes in many ways, but one thing that is important is that one should avoid repeating words that could be changed. And then do not change what cannot be changed. There are some words that you cannot change. There are some words you cannot do anything about. They are basically without synonyms. So if you attempt to change those words, you will only complicate your essay and make your essay to lack substance. You make your essay to lack clarity, and you may even contaminate the essence of the essay. When I say contaminate the essence, that is, the essay loses the original meaning. Are you getting me, please? So basically, there are some words that already have ready-made synonyms. Now, the question often comes this way. The bar chart shows, the bar chart shows and all and all. Okay. So now, when you have that kind of question, the word shows or gives information can also be written as reveals, depicts, illustrates. So those ones are easily changeable, very easily. Those ones are easily changeable. Just give me a second. Apologies for the little distraction. So I said those words can be changed. Well, if you can change them as much as you can, so that you can easily present a simplicity over your work. Now, for the content of the question, for example, the graph shows the quantity of rice that is sold in Melbourne. That's an example. Now, you could easily change the word quantity to volume, but you don't have a spelling for rice. Rice is rice. And so instead of us to argue on that, you could easily just make up your mind to simply focus on simply focus on the ones that can be changed, and then leave out the ones that cannot be changed. Very simple. So and you don't have to crack your brain if you don't have a synonym for a word. Otherwise, you're going to complicate matters. And what this means is you're going to get yourself into trouble. Basically, simply use the synonyms you know and you are very sure of, based on your level of vocabulary. Don't try to use synonyms you don't know. Sometimes we try to want to write big English, and then we begin to look for words, big meanings, but we are not sure of the meanings. Now, the implication of that is if you use the words you are not sure of their meaning, and then it's not the exact meaning of the word, you are going to change the meaning, the implication of that essay. The examiner will be reading something else, and it's not the question that you are asked. So that gives you a lot of problem. All right.
Come back, please.
On the second note, you could also write the sentence in another way. You can change the form of sentence. That's what I mean. You can change an active sentence to a passive sentence. Then you can also change the tenses of the sentence of the sentence from probably the sentence of the verb from probably past tense to present continuous tense, or from present continuous tense to past tense. Another thing you can do is to change the form of the noun from a noun to a verb. That can also be done. So explore different ways you can paraphrase, and don't just stay on this point that this is how I must do it. This is the only way I must paraphrase and all that. Try to explore other means of paraphrasing so that you don't put yourself in trouble. The major thing is the synonyms that can be changed should be changed, while the ones that cannot be changed should be left alone, right? So now that's on um, that's on introduction. And I also said, do not forget to add the unit of measurement. Now, watch out for your the quantity that you are dealing with. If you're dealing with two charts or more, two or more charts, try to write the two charts try to join two charts together at the beginning of your sentence. Many times they give something like this. This chart shows this so and so and so and so and so, and this pie chart shows so and so and so. So if you have a similar chart, maybe two bar charts, you can say these bar charts show. Then you now talk about the first bar chart. Then you link the second bar chart with the word and. All right. So you have this bar chart shows this, and this, and this, and that, so that you can make it clear and you can kind of bring your sentence together, rather than split it into two different complex and compound sentences. You can bring it together even from the beginning of your word. I don't know whether what I said just said is clear. And then watch out for your punctuations. Do not make mistake of punctuations. Now, when you're dealing with the unit of measurement, I will strongly advise that you write your unit of measurement separately. I don't know what I get on to now. Write your unit of measurement separately. Do not module it up with your paraphrase. Write your unit of measurement separately. Do not module it up with your paraphrase. What it does is that it helps you to be able to express what the question is talking about, and then also give a clarity of the unit of measurement. You can write that in many ways. Units are measured in. The unit of measurement is, you can write that in many ways. So it's actually not about a fixed way of writing. Okay. So now, I've also talked about that. You can practice this unit of measure. This introduction writing for many essays that you have access to. It's good that you are able to have a clear way of writing your introduction. It's the simplest aspect anyway, and it is not even considered under your task achievements. That's the truth. So you should not. I'm talking about for tax one. For tax one, your introduction is not part of your tax achievement. So you don't have to write anything overwhelming or over special. Just write as simply as you can in the way you're trying to paraphrase. Don't give it unnecessary edge. Don't write complex English. Don't write what you don't know the meaning of. Don't try to say, I want to show that I have good English. If you mess up with that, you change the question, then you start getting a zero from the beginning. Okay? So now the second thing that you should do is to probably write an overview. Now, an overview can be written as your second paragraph, and it can be written as your last paragraph. Either way is all right. You don't have to write it as your second paragraph compulsorily, and doesn't have to be last paragraph. But then the bottom line is that the overview is the single most important paragraph of your essay. Is the single most important paragraph of your essay. So it is actually important that you write your overview in such a way that is going to show that you understand what overview is. Now, importantly, when I was doing my own practice, observed that the overview is often easily written at the end of the essay because it gives you an impression of a conclusion. Because in tax one, there is no conclusion. But an overview gives you a feeling. It seems to make you feel like you're writing a conclusion. And there is this psychological feeling behind conclusion that makes you feel you have ended your essay. Now, most times, when people who have not probably gone to training does tax one, they write the overview and they say at the conclusion unknowingly, because they just feel that I should be able to round off my essay. So that psychology is the reason why a number of people believe overview should be at the end of the essay. But the truth is that it is not, overview is not the same thing as conclusion. Overview is just like, you want to tell us what the essay, the summary of the essay. So you can decide to tell us the summary of the essay ahead of the essay or at the end of the essay. It's all your choice. But that psychological feeling of looking like a conclusion is why people believe it should be at the end. And not only that, some people also believe that your overview or your summary should be written in the order of your essay, whether it is at the second paragraph or at the last paragraph. That is, the way you arrange your essay should be seen in your overview. So that is easily achievable when you have already written the essay and just pick the keywords in your first paragraph, your first body paragraph and second body paragraph, and then lump it up together in your overview and then conclude. But nonetheless, there's a pattern for essay overview that is generally acceptable. And so you can actually adapt to that pattern, whether you want to write a second paragraph or a last paragraph. It's generally acceptable, it's acceptable everywhere. It's more or less like a simple trick to write an overview. And how is it? Let me mention 4 things. Number 1, connective device. Never start an overview without a connective device. And there are 2 connective devices to write the overview. 2 connective devices. Number 1, overall, and number 2, to summarize or in summary. But the best one is in summary. So you can say in summary. You can write overall, comma, and you can write in summary, comma. The second thing about the overview is a word of introduction. Let me say a phrase of introduction. It's like you want to let the examiner know what you have discovered about the essay. And how is that phrase like? There are about 4 of them. The first one is, it can be seen that. The other one is, it is clear that. That's the phrase. It can be seen that. It is clear that. Another one is, it is immediately apparent that. It is immediately apparent that. Another one is, it is clearly evident that. It is clearly evident that. So those words are simple words that you can use to introduce what you're about to write. So in short, we have talked about the first part and the second part. If I join them together, how will I write it? I say overall, comma, it can be seen that. I can also say in summary, comma, it is immediately apparent that. I can also say in summary, comma, it is clearly evident that. I can also say overall, it is clear that. So either words can go for either, but you must have to. It is good or apparently better that you try to show a level of introduction to your overview. Are we together? Then we'll move on to the third aspect, which is the trend, or let me put it this way, the highest trend. The highest trend. So the first thing to talk about in your overview is the highest trend. If you have followed us with the classes that we have had previously, especially for outline, you discover that we have talked about the highest trend and we talked about the exception. So if you have followed us carefully, those are the specific aspects that we actually opened up to start up. So in your outline, remember in the fifth part of the outline, we talked about the highest trend. So that is what you're going to lift. And that becomes the first part of your overview. To start overall, it can be seen that no comma anymore. I put the comma, you just continue. It can be seen that so and so has the highest quantity, or has the highest volume, or is the highest number, or it is actually most seen, it's most visible, or is most bought, or whatever. Okay, whatever way it is put in the question, you paraphrase it like that, and then you now The next part is the lowest exception or the exception. Many times you have more than one exception. So when you have more than one exception, you pick the highest exception, the lowest exception, I mean. But when you have just one exception, you pick only that exception. So you see, it can be seen that the highest, overall, it can be seen that so and so is the highest, while the lowest is so and so. So, or the least is that. So the highest exception, the lowest trend, all right? The highest exception, the lowest trend, full stop. That is your overview. But it is good that when you are linking it, there's what they use to link the highest and the lowest. They use the word while. You can use the word while. You can use the word whilst. That is WHILST. You can also use the word whereas, okay, to link the highest trend and then the lowest exception. And link it together. The highest trend and the low. I didn't mention highest exception. No. I said highest trend and lowest exception. Please, let's note that. So, one key thing that should be noted, however, is that when you are writing the highest trend, you must write it in a particular sentence format. When you are writing your lowest exception, you must change the sentence format. What do I mean? If you say the highest trend is this, you should not say while the lowest trend is this. That's like repeating the same format. Why do you change the format? The highest trend is this, while this is the lowest exception. Do you get it now? Or this is the highest trend, and whilst the lowest exception is that. So always change. You put the passive in the active, and then the active in the passive for the two comparisons, and then you have a full stop. So if you okay, sir. Now, if you possibly have done that, you have written a good overview. If you have done that, you have written a good overview. And so, but there's one thing you could add that will help your overview to be completely complete or to be absolutely complete. It's called the most significant feature after the trends. So you could just find a particular feature in the data that is just, kind of very significant. Maybe it's just that, okay, the highest trend, or it could just be a neutral, just a particular group that is just neutral. Didn't increase, didn't decrease. It's just going like that. You can just pick that one as your most significant feature. Or probably the highest exception is the lowest figure, or as the lowest figure. The lowest exception has the highest figure, and then the highest trend has the lowest figure. It's possible. So you should note that however, this and this has the lowest figure. So just pick anything that is having special interest to you. On the other hand, when you have two datas, that is maybe a pie chart, another pie chart, or a graph, another graph, you can just pick the graph, write the trend and the exception, and then you now go ahead and then, however, you now talk about the second, whatever. So that is it. So it's actually very simple to write. Do not make it complicated for yourself by writing, on unnecessary details. What gives people problem in IELTS is that many times they feel that the examiner will be impressed if they write certain things. And frankly speaking, the examiners, they don't care what you write or what you cannot write. What they're immediately after is, do you do the right thing? If you do the right thing, they give you your score and they leave the work. Simple as that. So avoid unnecessary and do not write complicatedly. When you find out that your sentence is getting clumsy, that is, you are losing the strength of the formality of your sentence, or your sentence is already getting watery, you can just change the words and use more professional words. More or less, when you read a lot of essays, it gives you an idea of better way to frame your work and to avoid unnecessary details, one. Number two, to avoid adding unnecessary, not necessarily say that, to avoid using informal words or words that do not contain the weight that gives your essay a kind of tool from your examiner. Meanwhile, for your overview, all you need to do is just note the highest strength and write it. Now, but when you're writing in static data, one is, of course, for those who have been around for the last classes, you know what static data means. All right, static data, do not call the highest value a trend, and do not call the lowest value an exception. Simply let us know it has the highest value or it is the highest quantity or whatever. And then for the lowest exception, just call it the lowest value or the lowest figure, whatever it is you want to call it, so that you don't you don't confuse the examiner. The word trend actually means pattern. So when we talk about values, that is high and low, that is not a pattern. So that you don't give your examiner a wrong impression and people don't know what pattern is. That is that. So that's that on trend. Now, I like to move on to the body one paragraph. Now, in drawing a body one paragraph, there is a very simple trick that you can easily use. Very simple, and you can easily use it. If you get to understand this trick, it makes your work easy. It puts you under less headache when you're trying to draft a body one paragraph. Maybe you're just following two secrets. Secret one, use of different sentence frames. Use of different sentence frames. Okay, I will come back to that now. To understand these two secrets of writing a body or writing body paragraphs. One, use of different sentence frames. Two, use of manipulating compartments. Manipulating compartments. Now, on the average, your grammatical inaccuracy will be judged, first of all, by the varieties of sentence you're able to express. Simple sentence, compound sentence, complex sentence, compound complex sentence. How many of them can you write in a single essay? And how can you write them in such a way that they will not be together, they will not belong together? Now, if you look at your overview again, that's what the first sentence that we wrote for the trend and exception is a complex sentence. I mean, it's a compound sentence. The second sentence, which is, however, is a simple sentence. Are we together? Now, let us roll back to the introduction. The first sentence that we wrote is a compound sentence. Then the unit of measurement is so and so. It's a simple sentence. So we're already showing varieties of sentences, even from the beginning of the graph, from the beginning of the essay. Now, moving on to the first body paragraph now. How do you show varieties of sentences? The first issue about showing varieties of sentences is that, first of all, do not repeat two sentences in the same pattern. Do not repeat two sentences consecutively with the same pattern. What this means is, if you start the first sentence with, there was an increase in the volume of rice bought. in the year 1992. You don't start the second sentence with there was also a increase in the volume of beans. It now becomes worse if you probably do that with the third sentence. And then again, there was another don't kill there was now. What that means is don't repeat the frame of sentences over and over again. Try to avoid making a repetition of a pattern of sentences. You can use another pattern of sentence in the next sentence. There was an increase in the volume of rice. Then, when you go to the next sentence, you can start with 2003 saw a decrease or whatever. Or you can also start with something like rice increased, or you can maybe sugarcane increased, something like that. So do not start the same. So, and you see, this thing depends on our freedom of understanding the use of English language. For those who are probably have issues with formulating some of these things, I wrote a small book that gives you 3 ways to initiate your sentencing. So when you use way 1 in the first sentence of a paragraph, you use another way 2 in the second sentence of a paragraph, way 3 in another sentence. Then you now come back to way 1 again. Okay, that completes a paragraph, because a sentence should not have more than 4 sentences. A paragraph should not have more than 4 or at most 5 sentences. So we have already concluded 3 ways of writing sentences, and you now go back to the 1. Then you now start with the way 2 in your second paragraph for your first sentence. So you just lump it like that, so that when I see your work, I'm not seeing repeated forms of sentences over and over and over and over again. I'm seeing a variety of sentences at a frame, at the first look. All right, that first of all boosts your grammatical accuracy, especially when the sentences are even correct. If you don't have a problem with accuracy of maybe the typographical error is not a problem for you, you are writing clean English and you are writing it very, very okay, and that gives you beautiful face value for your examiner. That is on sentences. All right, you are good with conditioning, you are good with articles, you are good with verbs, punctuation, and all that. That already gives you a powerful front. I mean, it's like pouring water, in front of you. So you don't have problem with your examiner when it comes to grammar. And the second aspect is the manipulation of compartments. Now, every sentence that you write for paragraph 1 and paragraph 2 should have 4 compartments. Every sentence in your paragraph 1 and 2 should have 4 compartments. All right. The first compartment is called connective device. The first compartment is called connective device. Every of your sentences should possibly start with a connective device. Then the second aspect or compartment is called change. Change. Now, change is in 2 or 3 forms. You can have change as a noun, and you can have change as a verb. Are we together, please? And are you following me, please? You can have change as a noun, and you can have change as a verb. Now, the word rose or rice, for example, R-I-S-E, can be a noun and can be a verb. Okay? The word increase can be a noun and it can be a verb. Do you agree with me, please? Okay. Now let me give an example. Rice saw an increase. That is increase as a noun. Then I can also say rice increased. That is increase as a what? As a verb. However, if you want to improve your grammar, qualify it or describe it. What is an adjective? An adjective is a word that qualifies a noun. So you can say, rice saw a sharp increase. You can say, rice saw a gradual increase. So you're already qualifying your noun. Then you can describe your verb. All right? So you can say, rice increase. So basically, your adjective qualifies your noun, while your adverb describes your verb. Rice increased sharply. Rice increased gradually. Rice increased quickly or drastically, and all that. All those things can now come in. So now, as long as you have it in mind that you are going to be qualifying your verb, your nouns, and describing your verbs, then all you just need to do is you just place them immediately after your connecting device. Very straightforward. To start with, that is your connecting device, comma. Rice saw a sharp increase. That is your change. To start with, there was a sharp increase in the quantity of rice. That is a change. You can also say 1991 witnessed a sharp increase in rice. That is still another form of change. All right? So as I'm trying to switch different ways, I can still frame my change, but the important thing is that the change must be seen and it must be qualified or described, whether as a noun or a verb. I hope you understand. The third compartment is called time. When did this change occur? That's the time. Now, there's some for movement data, you always find time there because time is the point of reference. So you always find time, whether it is at the beginning of the period or at the end of the period, or whether it is within the period of reference, or whether it's in 1991, whether it is over the last 5 years. But I'm just giving you examples of ways you can frame time. And I will tell us a rule for these compartments when I'm through with the 4 compartments. But you understand how we are ordering the compartments now. What a sentence should contain. Every of your sentence should contain these things, from the first sentence to your last sentence for your body paragraphs. Every sentence should contain it. If not every, at least 80% should contain it. I mean, the connecting device, change, time. And the last one is value. Value. And so the value is the specific figure of change. So if you say rice saw an increase, or rice saw a sharp increase from 1991 to 1995, you must tell us the amount of increase at 400 kg. All right. So now, when I talked about manipulation, I added the value. Value is the last one. Value. I talked about manipulation. What I said about manipulation is that you can now cross change and time and change. What does that mean? What I just said is connecting device, which is C, change, which is C, time, which is T, value, which is V. So I can say CCTV. CCTV. I can also say I want to manipulate my change and my time. So I now put change where time is, and I put time where change is. So I have it like this: CCTV. That is connecting device, time, change, and value. I manipulated it. This manipulation is important when you are ordering your sentences. Very important when you are ordering your sentences from the beginning to the end of your first paragraph. Of course, the same application will also follow for your second paragraph. So, for example, if I start my first sentence with CCTV, I go to the second sentence. I use CTCV. I use the third one. I use CCTV. I go to the fourth one. I use CTCV. I go to the next one. I use CCTV. I go to the next one. I use CTCV. So I keep on interchanging like that, Okay. And when it is possible, I can also have CVTV. That is change. Connected device, change, time, value. Connected device, change, time, value. I said to start with, 400 kg was seen as was observed to be the increase in 90 something of the commodity of rice. It's a real sentence frame, but you can also present that way if you will not be clumsy. You can also have CTVC. CTVC, that is change, connected device, time, change, value. Connected device, time, value, change. CTVC, connected device, time, value, change. Now, all of these things are very indigenous in the application. That is, when you use it, it is peculiar to you. And that's the reason why there's no rule for the way you write, that you must write in a particular way. You can decide to switch everything around. But there's a major thing. Number one, there are a number of rules. Rule number one, never repeat you have used them initially. Used to start with as your first connected device. You must never use to start with in any way throughout the data. Same thing applies to increase. If you have said to start with rise, add, and increase, that word increase should never appear in any time at any point in time in any of the other sentences, except you want to change the form, maybe from verb to noun. So maybe, for instance, you have used the word rise, add, and increase. That word and increase can never occur again. You can now say beans increased because it's another form, it's a verb. But once you have used add and increase and you have used increased, then you can never use add and increase or increase again. It will only appear once. Same thing applies with time. Once you have said in 1999, you have to use other ways to express your 1999. And same thing applies for value. Although for value there's often a level of concession that is granted, because the words you can use to express your value are limited. So once you say maybe normally the way value is often expressed is called the way value is often expressed is usually with the word at so and so. And another time it can also be expressed with the words with brackets. Are we together? That is, they use a bracket to express it. That's okay, bracket 400 kg. That can also be possible. So those two are common. So those ones, you may repeat them because there are not too many words that can be used to express arts for value. Very truly. There are not too many words. But for the other aspects, they cannot be repeated twice. Otherwise, they will dampen your mark. Number 2 rule, or is it number 2 or number 3? I don't know. You have that I didn't change that connected device to the position of the cognitive device, I didn't change the position. It was always at the beginning. Very importantly, you may not be having the ability or the license to change the position of that cognitive device to the second or the third or the fourth compartment of your sentence. You may not be having the privilege to change the compartment. I mean, that second compartment, you may not have the opportunity. Reason is because it will make your sentence to lose strength. Many times your sentence will not have the will not have the how will I even put this in English? Give me English. It may not have strength to contest the mark that it deserves. So best bet, always make it to always start is the head and is the firstborn. All right. So now, after said all of this, there are various types of cognitive devices. For trends, what are the cognitive devices for trends? Or let me say for movement trends. Number one, we have similarly. We have likewise. We have in the same vein. Similarly, likewise, in the same vein. Those three ones, they are very important cognitive devices for similar trends or trends, movement trends. So let me just give a abstract but the one. Are we following now? I want to use the CCTV principle and the sentence changes principle. Are we ready now? Just follow me. To start with, the quantity of rice or the quantity of food commodities increased drastically over the last 10-year period and within the frame of 10-year period at 200 kg per year, or the average of 200 kg per year. Similarly, that is, I'm talking about that this changes that occurred in rice was also seen in beans, or the next one. That brings to the third, second or fourth rule, whether it's second or fourth rule. Arrange your trends or exceptions in sequential order. I'm coming to the fourth or fifth rule now. Please let me know whether I'm in the fourth or fifth rule. Arrange your data or your trends or your exceptions in sequential order. Don't talk about the exception in your second sentence. No. Your exception is supposed to be another paragraph if you have only one data. So you don't even have the room for it. You start from the first to the second to the third to the fourth. Then you can now summarize the remaining ones that are remaining to be the last things we talk about. All right, sequential order. Now, one more thing I want to also add is there are some data that will require explanation. I call it trend explanation. What that means is that you don't just have one single increase. It was a pattern. It moved like this, then came down, then came up. Then another one moved like this. That's common in movement data, especially charts. Now, there are two rules to dealing with it. Rule one, this is possible you can do. You can summarize the key trends of that pattern in your first sentence. That is, rice, beans, and garri had a fluctuating trend or had fluctuating trends through the period. So you have summarized the ones that trended. That is the first rule. You can summarize. Then you now pick rice. And then you now start telling us how rice fared, how rice fluctuated from the beginning. Then you now talk about beans, how beans fluctuated as well. Then you now talk about Gary, how Gary fluctuated. Knowing fully well that they are the same pattern. That is the first rule in writing these kinds of trend. Another way you can write is to start your body paragraph with the highest trend and explain it right there. So you're not even trying to like tell us the number of things that are trended. Just want to tell us the highest trend, then move to the second trend, move to the third trend, and then talk about the last trend. Okay? It is your choice to decide which one you want to use in description. But the bottom line is that make sure you follow the 4 compartment rules and never repeat any of the compartments except the one that we allowed for at the video of the values. So and so. Rule number 5 or 6. Always mention the value of change. Always mention the value of change. Always mention the value of change. Never assume that your examiner will know the value you are referring to. I'll say that again. Never assume or allude or assert that your examiner will just know that what you want to talk about is 400, whatever. And sometimes some people try to use fractions. Please, even if you use fractions, still mention the value, because you just can never assume. If you have used fractions, still mention the value. That okay, at so and so, or bracket so and so. Even if you have mentioned the value, mentioned the fraction or the subtraction or whatever, the value must be specifically mentioned. Are we together, please?
Yes,
right.
sir.
Okay. So now I'm giving you framework. Now, let me tell you why I'm teaching this way. Some people have said, sir, why don't you just give us a beautiful essay and tell us how to write it straight up? Let me tell you this. I'm telling you this because with this method, I'm giving you principles. You can structure an essay by yourself with your own ingenuity, okay, and at your level of English. Why you just need more or less a support, maybe just to have one maybe a framework support. All right, let me not just change this English. Now, some of us may not have many options of words for change. We may not have many options of words for connected devices. We may not have many options of words for time. So we just need a booklet to tell us how to raise those options. Aside from that, even we can naturally think about options of words and use them. Though we may have to do a lot of cracking of brain, but at least it gives you a level of comfortability when you are going to be facing a tax 1 neutrally without getting to be afraid of mistakes or no mistakes. So having said that, I like to move to one more rule. When you have a data, one data, your trend is your body 1, your exception is your body 2. But when you have 2 datas, maybe you have one bar chart, another bar chart, or one bar chart, another pie chart, and it is not movement data, note that word, or it is not a map. It is not movement data, it's not a map. It's not movement, it's not map. Note this expression. So then do not write the 2 groups in one paragraph. Write them separately. Never write the 2 groups in one paragraph. Write them. So that means you have data 1 in the first paragraph, which means you split the first paragraph into two parts, not directly, but using cognitive devices. And then you have that two in your second paragraph. I don't know whether that is clear. So if you have just one graph or one data, then your body will be trend, your body will be exception. If you have two data and it's not a map or a movement data, okay, don't write them in the same, don't write your trend in the paragraph. Rather, write the first paragraph to be your trend and exception for the first paragraph, for the first data. Then your second paragraph to be your trend and exception for the second data. Do you understand? So generally, static data, okay, and maps should be written in separate paragraphs when the map is having 2 years of references. So we answered the question. So let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming so that I will just answer them once, one after the other, and then I will not have to be stay in between. What I observe is that when you don't do very fast, network often gets bad towards the end, like it happened last week. So I want to try and pump in the teaching now so that hopefully if you don't have some problem, then we'll be fine. But if not, at least you have covered a lot before anything comes up. So this I think I've mentioned the second rule. The first rule is don't write two graphs or two data in the same paragraph. Rather, separate them per paragraph, especially if it is somebody was trying to call. Okay, so after saying what I said now, I want to talk about a second rule. That's the use of comparisons or comparatives. All right, the use of comparison or comparatives. Very importantly, you must try and compare your graphs. You must try and compare your graphs. What this means is where you see striking features that are having some level of divisibility. For example, maybe you saw it. Okay, hello. Hello. Okay. Is everybody hearing me? Somebody
Hi,
just.
sir, we can hear you.
Hi, sir. We
We
can hear you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I said comparisons. When you find a level of divisibility, maybe a particular value is having 50, another value is having 25. That is half of, okay? Or probably you have a value that is 70, another value is 10. That is 7 times whatever. Wherever you have those divisibilities, try and make note of them before you mention the value. So for example, now, maybe rice is 70 kg and beans is 10 kg. You can just say, also I mentioned rice, you can say which is 7 times the value of beans, okay, at 70 kg. But once you have mentioned one, you don't have to repeat yourself. So better still, you mention the comparisons later. So if probably you have rice at 70 kg and you're going to mention beans after rice, all right, you can just, when you're mentioning beans, just say, which at 10 kg, which is 1/7, or if you're not sure of the exact, but you can say almost, or if you are sure, you can just write 1/7 of the quantity of rice. So if it could be half, it could be 1/7, it could be 1/4, it could be 2/3, 2/3, it could be 1/5, it could be 2 times more, it could be 3 times more, it could be 8 times more. Just watch out for those divisibility possibilities and always make it of them. That is where they say make comparison where relevant. So you are already making, and that is how you answer that question. So it's not until you begin to compare graphs and compare group and group in the same sentence that you are making comparison. You can make comparison while writing the groups in different paragraphs. This is to avoid unnecessary complication and clumsiness. And I think it's very helpful. It's a wise decision and it's very helpful. All right. So I will say that one more thing that I want to add is, because this is, I just come back, I'm talking, I just feel there's one thing I wanted to add again that sorry, it's not coming again. So, but with all I've said, for your static data, yes, I can come now. Comparisons. Your static data and your movement data, they are having a very major difference in the use of words for change. When you have increase, decrease, fluctuates, and all that in when dealing with movement data, in the case of static data, you have words like highest, second highest, third highest, most, many, greatest, heaviest, next, and all that. There are more of comparatives for that second one. So, of course, you know, the same principle. Start with the highest, end with the lowest. So the way you order your words will now be shown by your comparison. Rice at the highest quantity, okay, followed by beans, which was the second highest. But I didn't add the value, so I must add the value. All right. Now, while I would have loved to mention all of that, but since we have the YouTube record for that, I do not want to go back to that. Okay. But let me just give a simple principle and a simple description of a static and the movement. Okay. Movement data, static data is a data that doesn't have reference to time. I want to see if I can quickly help out with an example of static data here very quickly. So that actually see what I'm trying to say. If I will be able to. Doesn't seem I will be easily able to do that. I'm coming. I want to try and see the possibility of giving an example of static data. Okay, I think this is one. Now, sorry. All right. Now look at this data. There is no reference to time here. It's just the focusing on the main reasons for study, not from 1 year to another year, or not from one day to another day, not from one time to another time. And sometimes they will mention a year. But when they mention a year, they will not yet. They may mention a month, but they will not mention it. Are you following me now? They just mention a year, and then that's it. Here you can see that they just talked about the different ages grade, not from a year to another year, but just a particular year. All right. Now, let me see if I can check out a movement data that you could see. Let me see if I could probably check out a movement data. That one is talking about a movement from 1 year to another year. I'm not seeing that quickly as I would have loved to. All right, this is one. Good. Okay, now look at this now. I'm sorry if you don't see it clearly, but it's talking about from 2010 to 2017. You can see this graph shows the number of tourists from 2010 to 2017. So that's the movement. You can see. Good. So I just believe that with this little you have seen what a movement data and a static data looks like. All right. For those who are asking, I just felt I should do that because of the fact that we are actually trying to get this now. So in a movement data, we deal with increased, decreased, fluctuated, stabilized, the dip, moved up. But for static, you're talking about the highest, the next highest, then the third highest, then the lowest, or the heaviest, then the next, then after that is followed by subsequently and all that. So just those use of words. If you have it now, if you don't have issues with knowing these changes naturally, you will not need to get any booklet that deals with useful language. But if you have issues with that, you will need to get a very good booklet on useful language. A very detailed booklet on useful language. And I think you should not give yourself unnecessary headache to begin to think of which other words. You have used increase, you have used rose, and I think which other words can I have after increase and rise? So increase, rise. I don't want to use increase again. And you are struggling. And meanwhile, there's a particular booklet you can easily get that has up to 7 to 10 words you can use interchangeably. Are you understanding me? Yes, you can always say dynamic. Yes, very correct. So you will not have to, get your head cracked trying to think of the useful language. And I've said you cannot use these words repeatedly. You can only use them once. So you don't want to stress your head and give yourself trouble. If you want to write an essay, just get the book open and just check, flipping through. You just pick the words, you use them, pick the words, you use them, pick the words, you use them, pick the words. And then just using them, and it's look, and you see, when you do that one frequently, you will get to a point you don't need to use those books again because they will have just stayed there systematically. All right. Please don't get it confused though. Don't get. I'm seeing some things now. I will clarify everything. Let me just finish this aspect. So now, for your second paragraph, words you can use to start your second paragraph, all right, you can say, if you are talking about exception, that's what you want to talk about is an exception. The same data was an exception. These are what you can use. You can use in contrast, conversely, okay, on the contrary. However, those 4 words, you can use it to start a second paragraph that is dealing with exception. But when you are dealing with a second paragraph that is dealing with another data, not an exception, another completely different data, okay, you have to use words like moving on to. And instead of mentioning second data, moving on to, you mention the exact same of that data, whether it's talking about banana, moving on to the amount of banana sold, because that's the topic of that second data. Don't mention moving on to the second graph or second bar chart. What is the topic of that second bar chart? You mention it. Okay. And once you do that, that settles it. All right. So that's the common one you can use, or you can use concern, or you can use on the other hand. Okay. So then the same frame. Exception starts from the highest to the lowest. Most of the time, you have a particular graph that's a particular group that is not the trend, it's not the exception. What does that mean? It's not, for movement data, trend is the pattern or a pattern of movement that is most popular or most frequent among the groups. The pattern of movement most frequent among the groups. So maybe if you have 5 groups and the pattern of movement most frequent is increase, all right? So that is your trend. So those 3 groups are the trends. Then the exception is the pattern of movement most that is least popular among the groups. So maybe there's a particular group that is just decrease. Then one group did not increase, did not decrease. It's just in the middle. That's called neutral group. So you can always write a neutral group after your exception to just show that this in, and oftentimes when you want to write your neutral group, you start with the word interesting. That is, in spite of all what has been happening all over, this one just seems not to even budge. So you can add that one. All right, and you often write it in exception as the last statement to talk about. And it's also significant and could be what you're going to mention as your however in your overview. Your however in your overview. Now, I've said many things, but the reason is because I want to just break through static that reporting, so you don't have any issues. Now, when I deal with maps and processes, the language will change a little. It's not going to be the ones you have been using for charts and bar charts and all and tables. You have to change the language a little. The words, in fact, that is where your preposition will begin to come up: behind, in front of, opposite, beside, around, adjacent to, but you must use them correctly. Then, of course, the use of cardinal points at the northeast, the north, not like north south, northeast, northwest, southwest, okay, and all that. So those words too are going to be applied when you are dealing with your second, maps. All right. Then the next, the processes. Processes is just almost like static data, followed by, after, next to, and all that. But the key thing is, do not repeat use of words. One of the things I was guilty of when I started writing the tax 1, so and so increased. This one again increased. Then this one also increased. Later this one finally increased. You want kid increase? You could say, am I the only one in your world that you want to use? You don't understand what you understand, because you don't even know the words to use after increase. You understand? Are you getting me? That the issue about it, any word you can use after increase is not even coming. So you are just like increase. Let me just be using increase, Jare. And that will dampen your mark. You can't write that kind of essay and have a 7. It's not possible. You can't. The things that will make your essay to enter 7, CCTV. And of course, I'll mention it again. For the movement, for the static data, CCPV. That P is place. Because when you don't have time, you can use place in place of time. So for static data, you can use CCPV. For movement, you can use CCTV. All right. Static data, CCTV. CCPV. Movement, CCTV. And I say you can change, you can do interchangeable. You can turn it to CPCV. CV, PV. You can, but that C, which is a cognitive device, cannot be changed because it seems to be the cardinal. It's like the cardinal fulcrum for the whole stuff. So I was talking about north, south. I mean, not like north, south, east. North, south, east, west. Okay, then north, east, south, east, northwest, southwest. And of course, if you don't see cardinal, don't use cardinal. Hello, if you don't see cardinal points, don't say you want to use cardinal points. It's useless. Don't bother. It's not necessary. So, having said that, that's a general rule. Now, if you want help with some of these things, especially useful language, there's no problem. Just contact me at the end of this essay, and I will get you a book that you can use to do that, so that you don't have headache applying useful language. Thank you. So now I will try and look at the questions now, one after the other, and then after answering them, we will now go for verbal questions. So, and please, if you're going to be asking a verbal question, you'll be required to turn on your video so that we can see your face and at least know you, and for the help of those who are also watching on YouTube, so that they don't end up struggling to probably know what the question is all about. So the first question that I'm seeing here is saying highest exception and what is overview. Now, in overview, there's nothing like highest exception. You pick the highest trend and the lowest exception or the exception. Then the second question is, the first paragraph should be about the first table, and the second part should be where will the differences come in. The difference will come in with the use of comparing, especially the divisibles, where you have 100 and you have 50. You see, 50 is half of, okay? And then where you have the highest to be this and the lowest to be that, then you can get maybe 1/10 to 5th, second, 2/3, 1/4, and all of that. That's why the difference will come in, okay? Then another one is saying, when will comparison come in? I've said that. Can you briefly explain? I've explained. Movement can be dynamic. Yes, it can. What is the difference between fluctuation, increase, and decrease? Fluctuation implies that it moves up, it moves down, and it moves up again. That's fluctuation. Increase and decrease means it moves up and it moves down. That's all. So most people oftentimes believe that fluctuation is it moves up and it moves down alone. No, it must move up twice and down once for it to be a fluctuation, or it moves down twice and once up for it to be a fluctuation. If it only moves up and down and stop there, that is increase and decrease. But if it moves up, down, up, that is fluctuation. Learn the difference. Fluctuation is for movement data. That's true. Increase and decrease is for static. That's not true. Increase and decrease is actually also for movement data. You cannot use it interchangeably. Now, there's nothing like contrastingly. Nothing like contrastingly, please. Sorry about the network issues. I believe the Facebook, the stuff is on YouTube after the class, so you can always go back and watch from the beginning. So now, having said all of that, do we have anyone that still has physical questions? You want to ask questions physically, but remember, the issue of network is terrible. I experienced it on Tuesday. You will not know what I went through that Tuesday. I almost entered the toilet because of network. I was going up and down the house with my laptop. it was cruel situation. And the anointing is that it didn't even get better. So at the point I was just logged out. I was logged out of the whole thing. So I was busy ranting, getting angry, annoyed, sad, battered, but sincerely speaking, I was as helpless as anything because even my phone let me switch to my phone. My phone was almost worse than my laptop. And to make matters finally worse, my laptop started misbehaving. So I just summarized myself and I was waiting I had to be looking at the whole thing. So when it was some minutes to 10 to 11, the thing came up again. By the time I came back online, everybody has left. Well, it is well. That's how much and just have a chance and just to watch. But thank God that tonight is good. So if you'd like to have a question, you first turn on your video. Then I can see your face and then know what you are asking specifically. And for the other those who are watching YouTube too. The P is place.
Sir, please, I have a question, sir.
Right.
Yes, you said one has a kind of feeling when writing the overview that when one is writing it at the end of the paragraph.
No, it's not everybody. It's me.
I
It's not everybody.
want to ask, does the examiner have that same feeling? Because I prefer writing it after
No,
my introduction.
no. It's not the examiner doesn't have any feeling. Examiner saying is that overview must be there. And it can be second paragraph or last paragraph. It doesn't care whether it is second. It's only just that is it there? Is it clear? Can I see clearly? Does it depict the summary of the whole, let's say, good, bam? So it doesn't have that feeling. This is individualistic. This is by myself. And that's why I said, in dealing with this kind of things, you have your preferences. You don't have to be rigid about, okay, this is how it must be. Nobody has tell you that it must be like that or not. Even what I'm saying now, you can decide to go and write something else in the exam and you could be favored and you pass. But I'm just saying that all of these things are just to help to be at the best position possible to actually get the best in the exam. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, please. So do we have any other person with a question? And remember to turn on your video.
Good evening, sir.
You're welcome, please.
Yes. I want to ask, is it through the values and should not be written numerically? They should all be in words while we're writing, and as well as units of measurement. So someone told me that they should always be in words, that it shouldn't be written numerically in the essay.
It's not true. It's not true.
Okay.
It's not true. But the bottom truth is that use the way they put it in that particular graph that they drew. If they put it as DM, write DM. If they put it as SM, write SM. If they put, understand? If they put it as centigrade, write centigrade. Or if they put it as OC, write OC. Just follow the way they wrote it in the graph.
You can also replicate the figures too.
Yes.
The same way
definitely
okay.
the figures are going to be in figures now. However, like they wrote 20 as TWENTY. They always put as 20. So that way they wrote it is the way you are going to write it in the graph.
Yeah, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Is that all right?
Yeah, I'm fine, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. You're welcome. So do we have other questions, please? Now I'm going to be giving assignments, and what you just simply do is convert all the outlines you have earlier written into reports and send to me. That's all. Convert all the earlier written outlines. Only 5 people wrote the outlines, only 5. And the day we did this stuff, I think we were about 30 or 20 something. Now, let me say something quickly. Somebody's result came out today that has been preparing for the last, I think, a month or two, and he didn't do well. Okay? So I observed that immediately after he finished the exam, he was asking, he said he wanted to buy my book. I was like, you don't even wait for your result to come out before you start buying book. He says, I just want to buy it. So he bought the book. So when the result came out today, and I was like, so what do you to sit down? He used the word sit down. I don't want to use the other word to use because it was like a vocal language. Sit down and prepare. I was like, so you just sit down and prepare. Now, some people believe that once you have a teacher or a coach that is taking you, you are going to pass. Just attend the lesson, listen very well, you pass. It's a lie. In fact, it's a big lie, actually. One of the biggest lies you can ever meet on this platform. That no matter how much you listen, you watch E2 English, that is this J English, no matter how much you watch this what I don't know the surname, or Chris Pell, or this Pakistan guy. See, if you like, take a video on the video. If you don't practically do some assignments and get assessed over time, not just that you just do one or two, you will not be able to pass the exam. And it is not only for writing, you must do the same thing for listening, reading, and speaking. It's a rigorous, no break, no jam approach, where you will just have to like dedicate 1 or 2 hours. When people tell me, sir, see, I'm so busy. In fact, my schedule is tight. I don't have time at all. What I tell them is do it at midnight. When you just get home, just go and sleep. Once it's morning, or once it's maybe 2 a.m., wake up, sleep in the sitting room, and then use 2 hours. And do that every day to your exam. You will pass. Because you must express your level of proficiency prior to the exam with a high level of skill. And that skill will not come on the first day of your practice. It has to come on a repeated platform. Did you understand me, please?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, can hear you.
Okay. Good evening, sir. So I want to say thank you very much for this lesson once again. Okay, so my question is about the overview. So I think, I don't know, the question is just that if you are starting your overview, is it compulsory for you to use overall, to start with an overall when writing your overview?
Yes, it's necessary. Don't let me use the word compulsory, because some people will not bother using it. I will say that it is necessary because it helps to show your examiner what you are actually trying to do. Are we together, please?
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
If you are starting with to start with, they know that you are trying to deal with probably the body. So when you are now saying overall, that is, I'm trying to say from the general outlook of this whole essay, these are the stuffs I can see that is talking about. So it's like an instruction to the examiner. So when you say overall, say yes, that means it makes the examiner know without you being there what you are trying to say. All right, so that is the reason. And you can also use the word to summarize or in summary, either of the two. But usually, in summary is better used if you are going to write your overall as a 4th paragraph, because it suits that part. Overall is better used as a 2nd paragraph, but you can also use it at the end of your paragraph. Do you understand? But whatever the case may be, just do not do anything that will keep your work in the doubt or in the dark. The examiner is saying, what is he trying to say? What does it mean? Or just doubting what you mean or what you don't mean is risky, because you will not be there to explain to the examiner what you mean or what you don't mean. It's your work that will fight for you. And the way you present your work matters a lot, so that your examiner doesn't get confused of what.
Okay. One more thing, sorry. And also, you said something about the overview. That was when I joined the class. So you said highest exception. I don't know.
Highest exception. I said highest strength and lowest exception, or exception.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. So I hope to have other questions, please. And I was emphasizing before she came up, your practice must be something you get addicted to. Cannot do without practice at least 1 or 2 hours every single day if you want to have a 7 and above in IELTS. It's better to focus on it once and for all. More importantly, having an assessor and evaluator for your writings are one of the always ask yourself on this rating for writing 1 and 2. Assessing your work gives it stability. I did not pass IELTS until I started assessing my writing and getting feedbacks for what I wrote. And I wrote it 5 times. It was the fifth time that I was able to really pass it because I delayed in getting my session. So you don't have to wait to that point. You don't have to get rubbish score before you say, I think I'm now ready. No, it's not necessary. So do we have other questions so that we can have our assignment and probably hear from Mr. Bella? I think we now have to tell us tonight before we go to sleep. I think we don't have any more questions. So I'm going to hand over to Mr. Bella to, I hope he's around. Yeah, I think he's around to speak to us. Okay, Mrs. Shode says I should say everything I've said before on train. I don't know what this. Can you ask a question again, Mr. Shode? Can you ask a question again if you want to talk about anything? All right. Yeah, I think Mr. Bella can take over. I'm not seeing any question. After an outline. That's division. That's no, I can't go back. This one is Mrs. Oluwashola. How many hours do we use on this outline? How many hours do we use on this outline? Mrs. Oluwashola.
It's not me, it's Oyeshode.
I know, I'm only asking. I said, how many hours do we use on outline? If we can't rush over it, I don't want to. let's just conclude that we do it at that time, or possibly just go to the YouTube and watch the video. And if you're not contented, see me privately. If I'm able to have chance, if you have time, we can see privately. I will probably do that. But this is already 11 10:36. No. Well, if want us to leave here by 12. No, so we have to take our time that time. So let's just end it and then probably, but by next week, it's how it has to. So if you can see me privately, that's okay. But of course, you know the other music. All right. So Mr. Bella, we want to come up, I guess, to speak to us. So that we can move. But prior to his coming, remember, I've given the assignments. I've said we should try and write the reports for this, for the if you can just go and check on the Telegram page, you will see a number of essays that I post there. You can just go there and write out the overall. Write out the data for it. The report for it. Just do that and submit to wasinosis@gmail.com. For we go. Isabella is a bit busy. So once it's 20, once it's like 3 minutes time, then you If you want to be, you can go. But I'm trying to see if Isabella wants to speak to us. I think Isabella is quite busy. So please, I think the meeting is as good as over. Okay. You check on the on the Telegram page is there. The Telegram page has the details for the overseas nurses at gmail.com. Overseas nurse at gmail.com. So the class is over. If you don't have any specific question, you can probably move on to your personal schedules. Thank you, ma.
Thank you very much, sir. God bless you, sir.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Good night, sir.
Good night, sir.
Thank you, sir. God bless you.
You're welcome, ma.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. God bless you too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go.
Yes, we are meeting next Monday.
Sir.
We are meeting next week Monday by 9 p.m. You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
You're welcome, ma. Thank you, sir.
You rubbish you. Kíkọ easy o. Ha, ratibu. Ẹ kàn sọ pé kí wọ́n yẹ kó ṣẹlẹ̀ sí yàn. Wọ́n yẹ kó ṣẹlẹ̀ sí yàn. It's not easy o. Ẹgbẹ́ tí wọ́n pè ní.
All right. I think I will want to leave. So thanks to everyone. Good night.